Perfect. Well, Christian, hello, sir.
Hello.
Hey, thank you for coming. I appreciate you taking the time to do this with me. And I know that we talked about this prior to doing this, that this could be a long episode. So I'm looking very much forward to it. I always enjoy chatting with you, and I think that some of your story will be very impactful for others as well. So how do you feel about being here?
I feel great. It's a different take because now it's filmed,
Yeah,
and more people are gonna know about it
yeah,
versus just, you and I just shooting the shit.
yeah.
So, a little nervous, but not terrible because you
Good.
know me, I talk and talk and talk and I'll never stop talking.
Yeah. Yeah, I think you're gonna be fine, man.
Oh yeah.
It's and again, I think some of the things that you've experienced will be helpful for other people, and I know have been helpful to you as well. So because they've
Absolutely.
made you who you are now. So I just want to start, much like I do everybody else, man. Let's get an idea for what it was like growing up as Christian. So, like, what was your childhood like?
Oh, so growing up, man, it was definitely, I would say, pressure, coming from a Hispanic household.
Hmm.
Because the whole idea or niche basically that there's a way that you have to live or there's a way that you have to be,
Hmm.
a certain type of woman that you should be dating, within your race or, just or that you need to be this and this in order to be successful, whether a lawyer, a doctor, an astronaut,
Hmm.
and it's very strange. But I mean, aside from that, it was good. Like my childhood overall normal, for a Hispanic, you deal with because my parents never spoke English, so
Hmm.
they came from the Dominican Republic because Dominican, yay. And growing up, you at home, you only spoke one language, and then outside you speak another, and learning the difference, because there was things that I didn't even know until I got old.
Hmm.
Certain sayings, like one of them, until I moved to Georgia, and this is in '07, and I'm in my 30s, catawampus.
Oh yeah.
What the fuck is catawampus?
Yeah, same, dude.
And I'm over
Yeah.
here like, what? What
Yeah.
is that? And so, so growing up, definitely, you sense a difference in culture, because when we would go to family gatherings and parties, it was cousins and family, aunts, uncles, and I mean you didn't leave until 3 in the morning, and
Hmm.
then I have to go to school the next day,
Hmm.
and I can, whatever, get tired or, so different things that you learn, and you got the kids sleeping, while the parents are still partying and doing their thing. So it was overall, it was a learning for me, and just uh, adding two cultures because I learned a lot from, my American friends, and then of course from the Hispanic friends. Like, now, were there certain areas in my life where, yeah, my parents had the strict rules? Like, literally, I remember in the street that I grew up, in Miami or Miramar, really. Like, you have my house, then the neighbor, and then one of my neighborhood friends. I couldn't even sleep over until I was like
Hmm.
maybe 14,
Yeah.
because that's just the culture. You just don't do that. And then now, I have, my child who's, able to spend the night, at 9, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And I'm just like, you have no idea, child,
Yeah.
the difference, and I get it. I get it. I mean, even though now society is a little different, but overall it's the same.
Yeah.
You just got to educate. And I think that was the biggest thing, is that they didn't know because they only knew from their culture, not, I was obviously more Americanized. Um, and then of course, certain things, in my growing up, I learned, certain things that happened throughout my childhood that was very more so of a different, like, I wonder why this is happening, or why, you know, and I guess it played out obviously later on in life. And I can just go ahead and into it, when you grow up feeling a little disconnect from certain siblings, right?
Mhm.
Especially, you felt like there's a sense of, I don't know, anger or jealousy, and I'm like, I'm, the last born,
Yeah.
as and it's just like, and I was like spoiled. I will, I'll admit, my parents did spoil me, the fact that they were able to put me through private school, which is, again, another culture learning curve, because my parents were more heavily Catholic, and I went to in a sense a Baptist, but non-denominational is what they consider themselves. But I mean, I learned vast differences, in pieces of, certain things that I always felt that was different, because I felt like, back then, and, we're talking about the 90s at this point, as you're growing up, and, I hate to use the word religious, but,
Mhm.
I never felt really connected with a lot of the people, because a lot of them, did preach hate. Not hate. I can't, let me step back, not say hate, but it felt like you couldn't, depending on, whether if you were gay, right?
Mhm.
You they kind of made it seem like, yes, I get it that it may be a sin,
Mhm.
but like, why are we treating them any different? Because they deserve to be loved,
Mhm.
and things like that. That kind of made me feel a little different. And again, the church and the school system was great, and I think molding me, but I think I chose certain things because I didn't think that a lot of the things that they were necessarily preaching was felt
Yeah.
through them, you know what I mean?
Sure. Yeah.
And I always felt like they, depending on, who you are, what you are, you were treated differently
Mhm.
in that, and so, watching a lot of the friendships that I built, um, even to this day, you can see, the religious right wing, that it's like, I get it. I understand that you want to hold on to, your religion, which is fine, but you don't need to treat others less than you are because of race, or because they're gay, or because they decided, look, let them live,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
My biggest thing that I've learned, and I've taken this to I'll take it to the grave: love God, love others.
Yeah. Seems
That's
pretty simple.
so simple,
Yeah.
right? Like, why go beyond that? And I get it. Look, you want to hold to your traditions, hold to your traditions. They're not trying to, I've never, I have many gay friends. I have, even people who have transitioned,
Yeah.
and, they treat me better than a lot of the, even what you would consider straight, heterosexual people,
Yeah.
and it's just, and it's funny. And I'm like, why is that?
Yeah.
All they want is love, right?
Mhm.
And so showing them love and kindness, I mean, because that's what this world should be about.
Yes. I completely agree.
You know what I mean? And I get it. But, I always felt, like I said, a disconnect with a lot of certain types of people. But, I never let that hold me down.
Yeah.
Like, it's funny, even, in the school, it's like, where's Christian? Like, he was never in class. And I think, for me, like, not that I hated school, but I think I learned different.
Yeah.
Like, I'm more of a, let me feel it, touch it, do it.
Mhm.
Let me make the mistake.
Mhm.
I'll learn from it,
Yep.
right? And that, and I get it. I mean, there were people who can read 2 chapters and they understood and they can pass. Great. I'm glad you were given that gift.
Yep.
But my gift I think was very different. And it always, I always had one that always said, "Oh my God, you're going to be the mayor of a town one day." I'm like, ha ha ha. Not that, obviously that's not my ambition because I don't want to, because I've been in the management position and managing people. And I'm like, I was never really happy
Yeah.
because telling others what to do was never my thing.
Yeah.
Let people do what they need to do. Like
Hmm.
people understand, right? I'm more of a, let me do what I can be of service to others,
Hmm.
for the underdog,
Yeah.
right? That's how I've always lived my life. I remember, one kid getting, and this is a private school. And again, there was never that major, like, at least that I know of. I don't think I know of anyone killing themselves or having that kind of, and I'm sure there is. I just don't know. But I
Yeah.
know that, there was bullying, based on, whether they looked nerdy or because they were fat or because of the, and for me, standing up for those kind of people was always a good thing, and I never sensed that. Like I even remember my brother when I got glasses because I learned, at what 16, apparently I sat in the back of the class and then, I guess I never wrote down any of the notes because I couldn't see,
Oh.
right? I didn't know.
Yeah.
Like,
Right.
I just listened, whatever. And then it wasn't until I went to get my learning permit because back then I guess you could get it at 15, went to take I passed everything else, went to take the little eye thing and they said, "No, you failed." I was like, "Oh, I didn't have 20/20 vision."
Mm.
Had no idea.
Mm.
And my whole world changed after that because now I can see, which again, you don't, because when you have Hispanic parents and you tell them things like, I don't know if I'm, they kind of brush it off because
Yeah.
they don't think there's something wrong with you. It's like that skit, with, I forget his name from SNL, where, they'll talk about my son does not have depression,
Yeah.
right? You won't do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's typically how it is when get raised Hispanic or come up Hispanic that, it's like it's never your fault. It's
Hmm.
always something else,
Right.
and growing up, like I even had to tell my mom, it's like, I think I'm old enough to do my own laundry. And
Yeah.
then I get it, right? Like I get it. Amazing mother, right? I mean, she would go to war for me, right? And I mean, and she, and and for me, it always felt very unusual because even growing up, which will lead into, what I call the lie of my life,
Yeah.
right? The biggest lie
Yeah.
of my
Yeah.
life, right? It was little things, like I mentioned earlier, that people would say, "Oh, is that your grandmother?" And I'm like, "No, that's my mom. Like, why would you think that?" And again, you just brush it off because, when you're young and naive, you don't know any better.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you think did people say that you think was she did because she looked older
I think
or
so,
okay.
right? And, and I get it, but, in my head, I started, as I got older, calculating, okay, well, maybe she had me at 40s, which is not unheard of,
Yeah.
right? I mean, that's kind of where I would put it, but I just, would brush it off and just correct it, because again, when you grow up in a different culture, you don't look at that and say, "Oh, that's not my mom,"
Right.
right?
Right.
You just don't pay attention to those things. And other things like, my niece, "Oh, is this your brother?" Like every time we would be together, people would ask, "Is this my sister?" So it's little things like that, right? And then of course, with my dad, I was like, because this is how I learned how to write checkbooks, right?
Mhm.
Because he would write checkbooks, and then I would notice that my sister would give him checks about what every week, once a month, whatever. I forget how that timeline worked, but I'm like, why is she paying for my education as well?
Yeah.
But again, when you're young and naive, you don't realize, right? And so as you get older, life goes on. But overall, right, my childhood was amazing. Like normal in a sense for living a Hispanic life,
Yeah.
right? Um And, of course, were there certain, heartaches and, because I always was I wouldn't say I was the trouble, but I guess in a Hispanic household, that would be the considered the trouble. Not that I ever did drugs or, I mean, yes. Did I experiment on certain things? Absolutely. Did I get caught with weed? Absolutely. By my dad, cigarettes, whatever. I did it. Alcohol, did I experiment? Absolutely. But did I go to the hard substance? No, because I saw what it did to a lot of friends, a lot of family, even having, family members getting shot,
Hmm.
you know, um, while driving because of, drugs and a cousin who was murdered, so when you see things, and that's why I say I was blessed, going through, I guess, a private school, learning, again, for me, more spiritual and realizing the difference of, do I need this? I always found happiness in myself, right? I
Hmm.
was always happy, despite, me at the time being bigger than I am now,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
I look back in certain high school photos, I'm like, "Oh my god, I was bigger." Even compared to now, I'm like,
yeah.
and I probably weighed the same, but the difference is, when and so a lot of people don't know, because, healthcare was expensive even then,
Hmm.
so my parents took me to the Dominican Republic. I was a twig, right? But I would always get sick all the time. I mean, they were afraid. I was told that I would be blown by the wind,
Yeah.
of how like skinny I was at the time growing up. And then it wasn't until I think when I hit 10, that I had my tonsils removed and then a tube put into my ear. And then after that is when I started ballooning, right? And again, they would just feed you because, oh, you're too skinny, this and that. And they just fed you and fed you. And there was never, right? Again, there was never an education to, learn exercise or learn to do this. Did I try out for sports? Absolutely. Did I make it? No, which is fine because I learned later in life I don't like sports anyways,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
But I tried things, lived more of a solitude life, growing up, and then of course as you get older, you live and learn with
Hmm.
the experiences from others who teach you, and that's the thing. I'm very observant. I think, eh, as you and I have had many conversations, we sit and talk and we observe about certain behaviors, and we're like, I don't want to do that. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like,
Hmm.
yeah, it looks like fun, but I could find fun in other ways,
Yeah.
right?
Absolutely.
So, ooh, there goes my phone.
Oh,
So
you're good.
I'm
No
gonna turn
worries.
that off. Sorry.
No problem.
And so, you know, growing up, once I got my license, right, was I ever home? Probably not. I was always out, hanging out with friends, getting
Hmm.
drunk, at the party scenes, being able to buy alcohol at 15 because, you look like a man,
Yeah.
like a lot older, and they really never carded you,
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
certain places you can go to where you can get away with that.
Yeah.
I'm sure as you lived your life, dealing with that.
Oh, I will say actually, in mine, there was one specific store, but I never touched it until I was an adult.
Yeah,
So like that was just never a part of because to your point before, like something that I saw other people do, and I was like, I don't want to do that,
right.
until I was in a situation where I felt mature enough to deal with it, I guess.
Fair
But
enough.
yeah, that was a scary. But there's always that store.
Always,
There's always that
always. There's
store.
no
Yeah.
matter what city, no matter what country, no matter what part of the world, there's always that one
Yeah.
store,
Yeah.
and then again, also, growing up too, is what I also found strange is during the summer, my sister who lived at the time in the Dominican Republic,
Hmm.
I would go visit during the summer, almost every summer in my childhood and spend months there. So things like that, piggying back to, the uniqueness of or certain things that were different
Yeah.
in my life, right?
Sure.
And they're like, why would I, why would my parents send me away for 2 months during the summer, And I get it, right? You learn to live outside and you see things.
Yeah.
You see things and you experience things and the kids out there are very different, right? Because
Mhm.
it's poor,
Yep.
right? It's a third world country. And the way they experience life is definitely like I live like a king.
Yeah.
If realistically, coming back, going there, it's night and day,
Yeah.
right? Especially in the capital, right?
Mhm.
But overall, basic normal Hispanic childhood, with all the fruit trees, avocado tree, mango tree, coconut tree, sour oranges, I mean, banana tree, cactuses. I mean, we had it all, right?
Yeah.
And it was good for the most part. Of course, living through many hurricanes, very
Mhm.
scary. Hurricane Andrew, had many friends who lost homes, and so, I think those experiences in life teach you to be humble, right? Because I remember watching a tree literally ripped from the ground and just taken away, and that could have easily fallen,
Yeah.
and I always felt like there was some sort of protection, right, around, whether myself, wherever I went. So, and I don't know. It's just, it's one of those things that, you experience life in a way where you try to be as happy. Like I always sense that. Like be happy,
Yeah.
right? Like I get it. There's so much misery, but I learned from an early age that if you can be happy with yourself, you should be able to get through life, normally. And I feel like that to the core, which led me to, to this, right?
Yeah.
To who I am, doing what I'm doing, raising a daughter, you know, to just to be amazing, right? When you hear people tell me all the time, "Oh my god, she's 2 years old and she talks like an adult." Well, I
Mhm.
don't baby her, right?
Right.
I
Right.
don't sugarcoat things, and I feel like a lot of people do that. Why? Don't sugarcoat. Be real with them because
Mhm.
how are they going to experience life?
Yeah.
You shelter, you control, and you see it. You see it, especially whether the pastor kid or the kids who go, because their parents are the deacon or this and that. And it's like, then they go experience life once they're away from their parents
Yep.
and their life is destroyed,
Yep. Yeah,
right?
it's like a completely different world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was fortunate to experience certain things, but I knew, well, okay, well, those aren't the things that I really want to do,
Sure. Yeah.
right? So again, it's just, having control for what? For what reason?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's just, ugh.
Well, and I can speak to how your daughter is. She's insanely mature for her age. And she is so smart.
God, way smarter than I am, that I could
She's
ever imagine, even myself.
she's so smart, man. And she does all these, it's like the little silly things that she pulls like information from, or like I remember uh not too long ago, it was maybe last year, and she comes and shows me that she had adopted a manatee or whatever,
Hmm.
and she's showing me all the things about it. It has a name. This is where it is, and she's tracking it. And it was like the coolest. I didn't even know you could do that.
It's wild.
Yeah, and like that's a small example of like the things that she does that just blow me away, because she is so smart, man. And like I sat and painted shoes with her,
Right.
and I going into that situation, I was like, okay, she's gonna design these and I'm gonna paint them. Like I kind of just assumed that's how that was gonna go, and I was fine with that.
Like any other child, right?
Right. But like instead she was just like, show me how to do this. All right, cool. And then just like go away. I
Yeah,
got it,
yeah. I mean, and that's how it has always been. Like I let her choose her path, right?
Mhm.
When I had the Jeep, I mean, she was 3, and literally I would try to help her get it. No, I got this. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
I
Well,
mean, and that's the thing. I let her experience life and I tell her, hey, I'm here if you can't do it.
yeah.
Right. And that's it. Let her explore, let her do what she feels is best, and then if she can't, she'll let me know,
Yeah.
and then I'm there to support,
And it's
right?
great. She does do that.
Right.
It's she's
Wow.
a tiny adult,
I
dude.
know.
It's
It's
very
crazy.
it's
It's crazy.
interesting.
Yeah. So
She'll eventually she will do something that is very impactful in the world,
I
I feel
hope
like.
so. I feel like that to my bone because again, just learning and knowing what I know about this world that it's a challenge,
Yeah,
right?
sure.
I mean, you've faced it, I mean, look, the whole world bent to their knees during 2020 or
Mhm.
2019, whatever,
Yeah.
whatever COVID, and that's just a virus.
Yeah.
Can you imagine anything else?
Yeah. Never know.
You never know,
It's
right?
crazy.
And that's why to me it's like, do what you can with what you have, right?
Yeah.
And be who you have to be. Doesn't and if you change your mind, change your mind. That's okay.
Yeah.
You don't have to be a lawyer. You don't have to be a doctor. I don't give a shit.
Yeah.
Just do what makes you happy. And if it helps others, absolutely. Which is why I started my business,
Yeah.
right? Um to be of service for others. There's a need, right? You hear it all the time. I hear it all the time. I book this, they don't show up. I
Yep.
do this, they don't show up,
Yep.
right? We're here to show up,
Mhm.
right? That's the whole purpose in life is to be of service of others.
Mhm.
Now, sure, are there people who take advantage? Absolutely. Have I learned, who those people are and what signs? Absolutely. And you try to avoid them,
Mhm.
but sometimes some slip through the cracks,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
It's okay. Have a great life
Yeah.
because guess what? You can't control me.
Yeah.
Like that's the one thing I've learned that so many people have tried to make me small.
Yeah.
No, I can't. Like
Yeah.
there's just something in me that says no, it's not going to happen,
Yeah,
you know?
I respect that about you as well. And you're very much, and we've talked about this at length on in different times. We just don't because you and I are similar in this way, and I'm becoming more that way. I think the older I get,
Right.
but we just, I guess, for lack of a better term, we have a good way to see through and then just say no, thank you,
Right.
and be able to just, and we're cool with moving on past it.
Absolutely.
Where others will force it,
Right.
or they'll try everything, or, whatever. I just I've seen you do it several times where I'm just like, "You really did that?" And you're like, "Yeah, it's fine."
Yeah.
Like, whatever, and it's never you being disrespectful or you coming, being out of pocket or whatever. It's just
Right.
you saying, "I've reached my limit with this,
Right.
and
You were
I'm
good.
good.
I'm good.
Yeah, I don't
And
need this."
I don't, and I'll move on and I'll be fine because
Yeah,
if life hasn't taught me, I can just it's okay.
yeah,
Do you, right?
yeah,
Go do you over there. I will do my own thing. I have no qualms, because again, you come to a point where when you try and try, and if people listen, if you don't want to understand, that's okay.
yeah,
If you choose to create your own narrative, and if I have to be the villain, then I'll be your villain.
yeah,
I don't care,
yeah,
right? Because what are you going to do if that's how you feel, right? I'm just not going to put up with your behavior.
yeah. Yeah, I that's a good point too, like saying, "I'll be your villain." I think if people were comfortable being the villain in someone else's story, things would be a lot different.
Absolutely.
Because at the end of the day, we're all a villain in someone's story.
Absolutely.
So, like, and you probably don't even know it,
Right.
so you might as well be comfortable with it.
That's it.
Yeah, that's a great way to say that too, because it happens all the time, and I'm sure at some point, because no one's perfect,
No.
we've created people villains in our stories that aren't really villains. You know what I
Correct.
mean? So like it's part of, I think, the human experience to like point at others in certain instances to make yourself feel better. And it's, yeah, making peace with being the villain in someone else's. I like the way you said that.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah, and that's why I tell people, like, anyone new, and I watch and I'm like, "Don't put me on a pedestal.
yeah.
Look, don't put me on a pedestal. I am not perfect," right? And I think people try to reach a certain level of perfection. It's like, no.
Mhm.
Like, I will fail. Like, trust me, because at some point you're gonna cross something, I might cross something, but the difference is, can we communicate and come to a compromise, right? Because
Mhm.
that's the biggest thing. So many people, they don't wanna compromise.
Sure.
And I'm like, "No, no, no, that's not how it works. You gotta," again, like I always say, there are 3 sides.
Yep.
There's yours, theirs, and the truth.
Yep.
We have to come to a compromise,
Yeah.
right? You have to be comfortable enough to communicate and have uncomfortable conversations with people, whether you like it or not,
Yeah.
because brushing it under the rug does nothing,
No.
which is what I've experienced my whole life,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, no, like, so again, as I talked earlier, I learned in my 30s, when I was married, which we can talk about that, of course, um, that I was adopted, right? And it's like, because the fact that, when my child was at the time in the womb, you know, I was like, I don't have a copy of my birth certificate.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Yeah.
And I don't and I think, as you grow up, you don't really like pay attention to those things. I mean, I had my social security card, which was enough, but never had a copy. And I remember times even, when I asked my mother, hey, why are there no baby pictures of me?
Yeah.
Like maybe limited, like a few handful. Childhood, yes, but baby pictures, none. Right? Nothing. And I would always and it was always the same story, which is fine, that somebody mugged her and it all got taken away.
Interesting.
Right. And that
Okay.
was the story, right? That's
Yeah.
the lie, the big lie, one of the lies
Yeah.
that they told me growing up all the time. And I'm like, okay, whatever. So, come, now in my 30s, about to have a child, and I'm like, I don't have a copy of my birth certificate,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so of course, you can get all your information, from whatever state you were born in,
Sure.
as long as you have, so I printed out the form, went to the website, thank God for technologies today, right?
Yeah.
Or even then, and printed out the form, sent it in, whatever, put what I thought at the time, the correct information,
Yeah.
so I would say maybe 2 to 3 months go by. And again, this is still before my daughter was born. And I get a call from the Florida Department of Health, so they called me, hey, Mr. Echeverria, we received your application, but there's a problem. And I said, a problem? Like, what kind of problem?
Yeah.
At the time, you're like, what do you mean? I mean, I
Yeah.
filled out a form.
What could there possibly be?
Right, it's like, you would think cut and dry. And so when they said to me, they're like, well, the name of your mother was incorrect. And I said, wait, what? And that's when you're like, hold on. And so when everything else that you've experienced in life, when you realize, why does this and why are people saying this? It all comes flooding
Sure.
when you learn that the one person who you thought, right? Which again, you just like it all makes sense and it all comes together as an epiphany. It's like, well, so they asked me basically, well, could there be someone else?
Yeah.
And I said, well, the only other person. And again, when you realize, when she's writing, you know, checks to my dad, and
Yeah.
when you're having to spend months at the Dominican Republic,
Yeah.
and then, when you hear from, well, is this your sister? So the only other person at the time is who I thought was my sister, and that's the name I gave them, and they said, yeah, that was it.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So, and you're in your 30s when you figure this out.
Absolutely. And mind you, the one who I thought was my mother was still alive.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But that would be your grandmother.
My grandmother at
Like,
this point.
Okay. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay. So once that's all said and done, and you're like sitting with that information, was I don't know how this works. So maybe walk me through this a little bit because I don't know anything about adoption or how that goes. But if you're adopted and it's like I say like legally or like officially adopted, don't they change those things? Or is your birth certificate, does it still read how it would have?
So what I assume, because and I say when I say adopted, I mean again, I was raised in the same family,
Sure.
but it basically I can't say that they went through an agency, right?
Right, right, right.
Basically, what they just went ahead and said, "Okay, you are now this, we are this."
It was like an informal, "We're
Informal.
all going with this."
Right,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right, exactly, and
Okay.
and again, when you're Hispanic, right, you don't know who do you go to, right?
Yeah.
Especially coming from a different country.
Sure.
You don't
Yeah.
know who to contact or what's the no, you just make it happen,
Yeah,
I
and you're
guess.
spending limited time in that other country, and you're like,
Right,
who would you know anyway,
right,
really, you know?
right, and so
Yeah.
again, and if, if people in this world don't ask for certain documentations, because again, how was I able to get a passport?
Yeah.
Right? I had a passport when I was little,
Yeah.
and so when I went to go fill out my passport even now, I had to give them the correct information.
Wow.
It's crazy because
Yeah.
your whole life when you think that you're this person,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, and again, I'm still the same
Yeah, it was
person,
yeah, right.
but legally speaking, I have to change everything.
Holy cow. Yeah, I guess I never thought about, like, the ramifications down the line
Right.
of not knowing that.
Right, and then, of course, your medical history,
Sure. Yeah.
right? Because now we're talking about, again, the one who I consider my mother, she died from diabetes and
Mhm.
complications or had
Yeah,
diabetes,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And again, those are things that get passed down, right? But then now I'm like, no, this is now my grandmother, right?
Yeah.
Who I have to now change my medical history. I have to change so many things,
Wow.
right? Because it doesn't just affect them, but affects me later on, right?
Yeah, and your daughter
And my
and on
right,
and on and on. Yeah,
right.
yeah, yeah.
And the biggest thing that what I tell people and all my friends is like, look, everything that's kept in the dark will come to light
Yeah.
eventually,
Sure.
whether in this life or in the next. It's
Oh,
going to come out.
you know, cr
I know.
I
Believe me.
I know, and I remember, I know this is not the first time we've had this conversation, so I've known this information.
Right.
I didn't know that in depth of
Right.
it. And I believe you just shared it with me recently, like a year ago,
Right.
maybe.
Right.
Um,
Well, and this was based on after, my mother, because she went to the grave thinking
sure.
that I never knew. I had
Oh,
never told
really?
her,
Oh,
but I did tell my birth mother.
yeah.
And of course, that was an awkward conversation, but she decided not to talk to me for a month after I revealed, "Why are you my mother? Why are you on my birth certificate?"
And you grew up thinking she was your sister, correct?
Correct. Yeah, so a year ago or a year and a half ago, I think, maybe 2 years,
Yeah, I
I
think it's
sp
like 2 years ago.
I spilled the beans on my Facebook because, it's difficult to try to communicate to the rest of the family because there was an intention behind
Sure,
that.
sure.
Because, at this point, it's like, why continue? Let everybody know.
Yeah,
Like, at this point, she's gone, and and I've kept that secret for 10 years,
yeah,
right? 10 years from my 30s till my 40s, basically. I said, "You know what? Here it is."
yeah,
Right? And now everyone knows.
yeah, and wow, dude.
Yeah.
I didn't yeah, and like I said, when you shared it with me, that was new information to me. I
Right.
guess I didn't realize that you kept it for as long as you did.
Right.
That's crazy, man.
Yeah.
I okay, so so and learning the way that you did too, like, because you're getting ready to be a parent yourself,
Right.
and then having to go through all the, the technicalities of all of that,
Absolutely.
finding that out. Okay, so, what changes after that? Like, I mean, obviously, I know that you always considered your grandmother your mom and your
Correct.
dad, and all of
Correct.
that. So, like, how does that feel? Like, what's walk me through, like, once you figure that out, like, I know it rushes, I'm sure it's a lot of
Oh,
questions.
yeah. Oh,
So,
huge. But that's the problem. I couldn't because I tried to communicate
yeah,
to the one who was my birth mother,
yeah,
and she decided not to speak to me,
yeah,
I let it go.
yeah,
What am I gonna do,
yeah,
right? And I'm surely not gonna go to, my mother, especially how I was raised, the love that she always gave me.
Yeah.
I never wanted her to think that, the fact that I knew and that, I think for me, the biggest fear was her having guilt, especially
Yeah.
with all the complications she was going through, right? And I decided, you know what? It's okay. Like, I know that you did everything, you loved me, which kind of shows why, again, the jealousy from other siblings,
Yeah.
right? Because they knew,
Yeah.
but of course never told me until a recent event, which is fine, but again, it's like, what am I gonna do? And I'm not gonna, especially she just finally retired, right? And then was only able to enjoy her retirement for what, 5 years,
Yeah.
which is tragic in
Yeah.
itself. And it's like, I'm not gonna have you, go through that. And then on top of knowing that I know that you're not really my mom,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Biologically speaking.
Sure, sure.
You know what I'm saying? But at that point, what am I gonna do if the person who I wanted to get answers? Because even to this day, I don't know who my real father is.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And the only one person who is supposed to let me know or should let me know, I don't speak to them.
Yeah. I wonder why that is. Do you and I guess if we had that conversation, we went down that rabbit hole, it's just speculation because we don't know.
Correct.
But I wonder why she won't. Do you think it's embarrassment? Do you think
Most
it's
likely, because what I assume, based on the timeline and based on her age, I'm assuming she was 17, maybe 18,
Sure.
and when you grow up Hispanic, it's a shameful thing, an embarrassment,
Yeah.
and I get that, right? And, and I understand that cultures are very different,
Mhm.
but, I think that's why for me, I laugh because I say I'm somewhat whitewashed, right? Because I look at it as like, why? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
Everyone has something in their life that they're ashamed of. I get it. Or
Yeah.
they're embarrassed of, or they want to keep in the dark. I
Sure.
get it.
Mhm.
It's fine.
Yeah.
If you're not ready to let it out, you don't have to. But certain things like, because I guess they feel judged and shamed from others, I don't know. And maybe she wasn't ready. Maybe she didn't want a boy. There's so many questions that I have unanswered, but at this point it's like I'm not gonna, put a gun to their head and be like,
Of
give me the
course.
answer. No, it's
Yeah.
like if they don't want to share with me, then I'm just gonna live my life still. Live my
Yeah.
life.
Yeah.
It never stopped.
As much as I wanna sit here and say too that, like, you deserve the answers to those questions because you do.
Right.
I I think knowing you the way that I do and touching on some of what you said to start this, like, your mentality lends to just live and let live, and
That's it.
if you're ready to talk to me, I'm here to listen.
That's it.
And I think that you probably show that grace to her as well.
Absolutely.
I just I guess in asking about, like, do you think it's embarrassment? I don't know that I mean in the moment of, like, when you were born, more so, like, now of, like, "Holy smokes, we're caught." And, like, I don't know how to maybe it's a don't know how,
Maybe.
you know?
I mean, and again, and who knows if she even has told her current husband, right? So again, because that's the problem with a lie.
Yeah. You gotta keep it.
You got to keep it,
Yeah.
right? And until, it comes out, maybe again, there's shame. Who knows? Who
Yeah.
knows? Again, what if it was rape? What if it so there could be so many I don't knows, right? But it doesn't stop me from living. And
Sure.
I think that's the biggest takeaway that I've learned growing up, is that no matter what information you have, you still have to live,
Yeah, absolutely.
right?
Yeah.
And I think what happens to a lot of people, it's just like, I mean, because getting this kind of information, people will stop and feel like they lose their identity. And it's
Mhm.
like, no, you are this who you are.
Yeah,
I get it that, situationally things are different
of course.
and your timeline or your family heritage or your family tree may be a little different than what you thought, but doesn't change on who you are,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And that's the biggest thing I've learned that, no matter what happens, right? No matter who's in my life, who's not in my life, I still have to live,
Yeah.
right? And now I have a child that I must live for, right?
Mhm.
And the biggest thing is, of course, I told her, right? I keep no secrets as far as long as it's age appropriate,
Sure.
right? And where she understands. And again, with her being as smart as she is, right? Which is scary, It's like she gets it,
Yeah.
and a lot like me, I think because of my temperament and because of the way I don't always overreact on situations like that, because kids learn, right, based on how you react. So
Mhm.
if you freak out about everything, guess what? They're gonna freak out about
Or they're gonna
everything,
hide it from you.
or they're gonna hide it from you.
Yeah.
And I don't want that,
Yeah.
and I get it. Look, and I try to tell her too, "Don't put me on a pedestal, sweetie. Don't be afraid." Like, I get it. I'm a Hispanic dad. I may be loud. I may be this, but you can never there's never a moment in life where you can never come to me
Yeah.
where I will not understand
Yeah. Or try to.
or try to.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because that's the biggest thing people come to me about so many things,
Yep.
so many secrets
Yep.
that I'm like, I get it.
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah. It's because I think it's because you have that mentality, and conversation with you, secret or no secret, is it's funny because I think we're bit by the same bug in that sense. Like, people want to tell us things, and they're comfortable telling us things because, one, you listen,
Right.
and two, you don't judge,
Nope.
and three, you typically, if someone asks for it, and sometimes in probably both of our cases, even if they don't, we try to help,
Right.
and there's no judgment, there's no nonsense about it.
Correct.
Um, and it's why you and I talk so much, because we're the same in that way, I think. And we're like, we could talk for 4 hours, 5 hours, whatever, and just
Yeah.
go, go,
And
go on
keep it
a
going.
million things. And yeah, it's crazy because, again, I know your daughter, so I know that she knows that. And like it's, again, tiny adult,
Right.
but like she knows that you're there for her no matter
No
what.
matter what.
Um, and I guess in talking about your daughter, I want to back up just a little
Yeah,
bit.
yeah, let's go.
And you had mentioned while you were married, which would allude to the fact that you're not anymore.
Correct.
And you had your daughter during this time of you learning what you called your big lie.
Right.
And
The lie
so,
of my life.
yeah, the lie of your life, yes. And so once you learn that information, you are married at that time, correct?
Correct.
And then
Correct.
you're about to have your daughter.
Correct.
So walk me through what that time in life, besides the big lie, is like.
So in that time, it was good. I had a career. The company that I was working for, moved up pretty quickly. Yeah, um, started out from the bottom in a sense, and then got my way all the way to the management, which is why, at that point we decided, okay, we can, I've had my fun in a sense, and I
Yeah.
was like, all right, time to, be a man and settle down,
Sure.
right?
Yeah.
And have a family and have kids, or well, at that point, one, and then of course, I mean, typical, it was about us because we didn't decide to have her until I think after 4th year or 5th year of marriage, right
Mhm.
around there. Getting obviously growing, learning about each other and things like that. And it was good. And I think, at the time, we were still young, right? I mean,
Mhm.
30 is still young. I mean, I think we were together in our early 20s and then now about to be 30. And then, her being pregnant at the time. And then then you really learn things, especially after postpartum. That's a
Yeah.
huge, like something I never thought about, because you think postpartum is just something simple
Sure.
and no, I mean, you're like, no, it's a big,
Yeah.
big
It's
deal,
like a whole new person.
a whole nother
Yeah.
person. And when you're told certain things, right, you're like, oh, okay, right, and you're like, Well, unfortunately, this is not how we're gonna do things, but I get it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, um, and you look at life and you look back, and I look back and it's like, of course, after we had the baby and what led to the divorce, was differences of raising a child, right?
Mhm.
And that's okay, because at least on my aspect, right? What I felt was, my family lives in Miami. I'm in Georgia,
Yeah.
right? You, in a nutshell, live here. Your family's here. Let's just go down to the first Christmas. That's
Yeah.
all I'm asking for,
Sure.
right? The first Christmas to go see my mom, right? With the new baby. That was an issue. And it's like, and so things led to more things. And again, I felt like I'm being caged, right?
Yeah.
And of course, at the time I thought I did the right thing because then moved from because we were in Conyers at the time, moved back to the Woodstock era, which at that point, when you look at it now, it's like, okay, that probably was not the best decision because, it led me to realize, yeah, this is not the marriage that I want to be in,
Mhm.
because I don't want to be closed. You can't cage me,
Yeah.
and I think that was the issue because, when they grow up differently, they see the world based on their life
Sure.
and their environment,
Mhm.
right? I see my life in the environment that's around me, and I'm like, well, I get it. You live that life, but that's not that you're over with. It should be between us,
Sure. Yeah.
right? And and again, all I'm asking is one time. I'm not
Yeah.
asking every year we have to go down.
Sure.
Just one time. And
Mhm.
that was the problem. And then again, it just other things, of course, came about. And then here we are, right? Where we even separated for a little bit, right? Try to work it out. It just wasn't working out
Yeah.
because it's like I can't be caged,
Yeah.
because here's the thing with me, I will give you the world. I will get. I am a giver. I've learned that about myself, and I will do what I can to give. But once I realize that you're taking advantage of that, it's hard
Yeah.
to come back.
Yeah.
Whether you want to call it the Sag in me, the fire, whatever. It's like it's hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because I will give and give, and if I'm not it's funny because like even little things like, and I know a lot of people are like, oh, well, like to me though, those little things matter,
Absolutely.
right? Like if you can't tell me what I order, and I'm consistent, right? I'll order the same thing until one day I'm like, ugh. But if I can spill out your order and know exactly what you like, but yet you can't figure out what I like when I all I do whether it's chicken nuggets.
Yeah.
Let's use that as an
Yeah.
example.
Yeah. Yeah.
You you can't tell me? That's a problem.
Yeah. It's a little bit feels like a little bit of difference of effort, maybe.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And those are the things that I'm like, okay, maybe I shouldn't be in this.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's gonna always be one-sided.
Yeah. And it's interesting too in learning this because again, I think I met you. You may have been married when I met you. I don't know, but we
Yes, I
didn't.
think so.
Yeah, we didn't know each other that
Not well,
well.
right.
And what I know of you and your ex now, it's so funny because like learning this part of the story, like you guys co-parent like champions,
Right.
man. Like you're so good at it. Like better than I've seen across the board. Like you guys really make it about your daughter.
Right. Well, and again, right, and it took, and I'll give her, again credit that, finally, I think she realized, and not a lot of people know this, so it took time 'cause it was an ugly divorce, right? And even the lawyers, like, the even her lawyer was like, "She still loves you."
Yeah.
And I said, "Well, she can stop this, right? This could all go away." 'Cause here's the thing, like, I can always be understanding, right? I could always, try to make it work
Yeah.
if I have to,
Yeah.
right? If it makes sense, but once you decide what you decide, go for it, right? I never asked for it. I let her go through it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the thing is, I will pull away, right, if I'm feel like I'm being caged, right?
Mhm.
And you can't. You can't like that restrictive I just don't do well with that. You can't just try to be like, no, that just doesn't work for me, right?" And so it took time. And not to put her business, but here we are. But she finally apologized, and it took her losing a child, right? Where, she called and, and forgave or apologized,
Yeah.
for everything. And again, and I get it, right? I mean, it was bad. Like, even to the point where I had a girlfriend at the time and, try to hold me in contempt because she was living with us. And it was just, again, a lot of just stupid, unnecessary things, and but it's funny how it takes something else
Yeah.
to make one realize, is this worth it?
Yeah.
Is it really worth to hold to this anger or hold to like I get it, right?
Yeah.
I understand, but she finally, apologized. And then of course, and I apologize on my end. I get it. I'm
Yeah.
not
It
perfect.
takes two, for
Right.
sure.
I'm
Yeah.
not look, I can be a lot to handle because I'm a fire personality.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I get that. But at the same time, it's like, but I will give you the world. I will
Mhm.
burn everything and give you the world, right?
Yeah.
But, you know, and once that happened, I think that's when everything was able to it was like a switch
Yeah.
in the relationship
Mhm.
or at that point, because look, I'll admit, even after the divorce, did we sleep with each other? Absolutely.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Because and I will say that was more my end, as a validation that I knew it wasn't about me,
Yeah.
right? Because who does that,
Right, right.
right? So again, once that happened, that's when because again, it's not about us.
Yeah.
It's not about us. It's about her, right? She didn't choose to be in this world. We made her.
Yeah.
We created her right in a nutshell. I mean, I did my small part,
Yeah.
but in the end, I get it. I get
Yeah.
it. You want to hold on to whatever control, and
Yeah.
I think that was the biggest thing. It's like, no, you got to let it go.
Yeah.
Right? Even to this day, yes, I control certain aspects of my daughter, but that I know that's gonna keep her safe.
Sure.
But as far as her being who she is, do what you wanna do.
Yeah.
You wanna be an arts person? Great.
Yep.
You wanna go, whatever, right? She sits in a room many times, creates dragons, I mean, she's very artistic, very
Very.
creative.
Yeah, very.
I bring her with you and she makes shoes,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I let her, you know, but again, obviously in certain other areas where if you got to protect her, you protect her,
Yeah.
and that's it. But for the most part, and I get flack. Not, I can't say I get flack, but people are like, "Oh my god, you let her have a phone?" It's like, yeah, I had to because there was a point and I think this was before, right during COVID. There was an incident where, what, at this point, you're gonna have to have a phone because I can't have someone calling constantly on my phone, checking on you, like I'm not gonna take care of my kid.
Sure. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
So it's gonna be because, again, at the time when she was angry, she tried to use that as part of a contempt that I wouldn't allow access. It's like, no, you have access. It's just if I'm on vacation, I'm not gonna have the phone on me because I'm gonna spend it at the time with the girlfriend and my kid.
Yeah.
right? I'm spending time with them, not on my phone,
Yeah.
plugging away
Yeah.
now, right? And if during the evening, of course, call me, but not in the middle of the day. So again, but that's in the past, obviously. But now, once everything else yeah, I mean, you have a conversation again, an ugly but a needed conversation. And it's
Yeah.
like, it's not about us. I could care less, right? Like, and I've even had to tell her, it's like, "Look, you have now 2 other kids," right? At the time, it was 1, but, and I told her, "Look, if something were to happen to you, I'm never gonna stop, our daughter to not see her sister
Of
or
course.
her family."
Right.
But
Right.
I never felt that. I
Yeah.
always felt that if something were to happen to me, I think Serena would have never gotten to know and that's a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Now it's a little different, obviously, because things have. But at the time, when you think like that, and yeah, I'm like, why would I give you any information about what's going on in my life?
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's interesting too, like, again, because like I said, knowing you now and knowing the way that you guys operate with her
Right,
it's like, and I'm sure I don't see everything, but like it appears like flawless. Like you
right.
guys really just you're very, very cordial to each other.
Yes,
You make sure it's all about your daughter.
yes,
And it's something that I know is not an easy thing on anybody's in anybody's life. It's always tough if
yeah.
you're not a full time
Oh,
all the
right,
time, like
correct.
that's tough. But you guys do it really well. You
Yeah.
communicate really well.
Well, and that's the thing, and that's the thing I told her. Look, I mean, in the fact now that she has, you know, two other children, which I'll even mess with her other kid
Yeah.
because I don't want her to feel that, just because, your sister has a different dad,
Yeah.
that I can't be cordial.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like every morning when I drop her off, I'll steal her snacks. It's
Yeah.
like a thing we do, and she tries to scare me.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And again, it's about separating yourself, right? Because it's not about you.
Yeah.
It's about this child who came into this world, right? It's not her fault.
Yeah.
So why should she suffer? And I get it. So many people are so angry. It's like, why hold on to that anger?
Yeah.
Like, and that's the thing about me. Like, I think growing up, yeah, would I get angry? But then I let it go, right?
Yeah.
Because it's like, what's the point of holding it forever?
Yeah.
Because I felt, and I attribute to this, the only reason why I attribute to this is, so before I moved here, there was a time, and going back to my childhood, once I turned 18, I moved to college in Virginia. Whatever, that didn't pan out. Did it for a year. I was like, all right, this is not for me. Like, I hated it. I was like, "Ugh, screw this." So came back, whatever. And then at that point, I think my then parents, right, split. My father, um, made a poor decision, got drunk, drove again a vehicle, because that was the other thing. Like, I was blessed that he gave me a vehicle, which I don't think any of the siblings ever had. And again, that might have attributed to a lot of the jealousies
Sure.
that I've always felt, right? But whatever, he crashed, hit a car. Thank God nobody died or anything, but he got a DUI.
Mhm.
And then, of course, when we got there, because we were notified by the authority, and I think they called me because my mom obviously didn't speak English. So went over there, went to the accident, and then of course they told us, hey, get everything out of his car because we're gonna tow it, because obviously it was undrivable,
Yeah.
unusable. And so we did. We got everything, and then for whatever reason there was like an envelope um, that stuck out, and it was like in the back of and this is a 95, Nissan pickup. It was before they became the Frontier.
Yeah.
I had the 96, he had the 95, or vice versa, whatever. Um, And, we saw this, and again, this brings me back to everything that's hidden will come out,
Yeah.
right? And so this envelope, we come and find out he had a whole nother family. Right?
What?
Yeah, whole nother family.
Holy I've only ever heard about this, like, in movies. So
Yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I'm telling you, it is very interesting, the secrets and the lies that can, in essence, destroy a person.
Yeah.
And that's, when we found out that there's a whole nother child, a baby, with pictures and birth certificates and all this.
Holy cow.
But there's more. Hold on.
Okay.
We will get to this. We'll
I'm
get, 'cause
buckling
again,
up.
oh man, there's so much, again, things that play out. So that happened. Um, so we find this document, and of course, this is when, at the time, we had two homes, because we moved from a small house to a larger house.
Mhm.
The house that I grew up in, and then whatever, they finally sold it, because again, my parents at that point now got a divorce, right? And
Yeah.
so they're going through that situation, and you know, and and so this is brings back to where I've learned to let things go. For after that, like all the situation, and we can talk about that later, the details, right? But what happened was, once we found that out, of course, I was angry because of the fact, not because of the fact that he had a whole nother family, right? It was the fact of how he handled the divorce proceedings,
Yeah.
right? Because my mom lost the house, right? Lost basically everything. Because, back, I guess, in a Hispanic culture, the men controlled everything,
Yeah.
right? The finances, who got paid what, so whatever money she made, from her job, went to their mutual account and he would
Yeah.
pay for whatever, but apparently there was a second mortgage. So there was a lot of things, right? But it was the way that I felt, instead of doing the honorable thing, right? Like, you did something dirty.
Yeah.
Okay, do the right thing.
Yeah.
Give her, you don't,
Something.
right, you don't need to take, you don't need to have this, you don't need to, you know what I'm saying? And so she had to move out, or basically we all moved, you know, and yeah, and so that's, because I was working again with the company that I was working with at the time, but that's what, for me, I held on to anger,
Yeah.
almost like a hatred,
Mhm.
right? A bitterness.
Yeah.
And I didn't talk to him for like 5 years. It was
It
5 years,
feels a little justified.
right? A little bit,
Yeah, it
right?
really does. Yeah.
But at the same time, it's like, but at the same time, it's like there was such a weight when you feel a burden of hate and anger,
Yep.
right? And I'm like, what is going on?
Yeah.
And it wasn't until I moved here, which is funny, went to the local church, and the first thing that they talked about was about forgiveness.
Yeah.
And that holding on, right? Holding on is not meant for you to hold on to.
Yeah.
Let it go.
Yeah.
Give it to God,
Mhm.
right? And when I heard that, it was like such a weight was lifted from me personally, that I'm like, there's no reason.
Yeah.
Like, I understand that it happened. And yeah, I mean, you can still be mad at the
Sure.
situation, but
Yeah.
to hold on to the, like, it's not your burden, right?
Yeah.
It didn't, I mean, yes, it affected you, but it's not something that you need to be defined by. And I think that's what was my problem at the time. And again,
Yeah.
I mean, you're in your early 20s, right?
Yeah.
And, and you learn that, yeah, man, why am I holding on to such, it's like, and that's from that moment, I'm like, you know what? People are going to do shitty things.
Yeah. It's part of it. Yeah.
But for me to hold on to that, for what?
Yeah, that man. And then so you learned this before you learned that he's not even really your dad.
Correct.
Holy smokes, dude.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct. Right. So again, everything that
Oh.
happens, right? When you learn, and it's like all the pieces come together,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When they tell you life is a journey, 1,000 lives.
Yeah, no kidding, man. You're like, you're the mm, yeah.
Lie after lie because that's all they know.
Yeah, and you can't really what are you supposed to say? What are you supposed to say?
Nothing.
Because at that point, again, like, you're yes, you're affected by it, but, like, it doesn't have to I mean, especially once you learn, like, that's not even your dad, dude, like,
Right.
so, yeah, I mean, whatever,
But that
like
obviously, but that was years later,
yeah, yeah,
right?
yeah,
Years later.
but to, like, forgive even more, it's like, "Oh, I
Right.
can let go of this a little bit."
Right.
Holy cow, man.
Right.
Okay, so
Right.
so your parents get divorced,
Yep.
and really your parents are your grandparents.
Correct.
I'm just making sure I'm tracking
Yep,
here.
yep. Right, I know, it's a lot.
Holy
It's a
cow.
lot.
And so and the car accident is what allows you guys so he makes a mistake, drives drunk.
Right. Gets a
You
DUI,
and you
all
guys getting all of his personal effects out of the
mhm.
car is how you learn this. So the envelope itself just gave you enough information to learn all that, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And so and you said the divorce is ugly.
Right.
What happens to grandma/mom at this point?
So at this point, I become basically her in a sense, right? I guess her how do I say it? Like the go-to,
Yeah.
right? The
Yeah.
go-to to because I was, again, luckily for me, there were people placed as at the right time, where, we were able to get her an apartment
Yeah.
of her own,
Uh-huh.
through people, who I've known for years, who I babysat, right? Their dog, in a sense, and their kid every now and then, right? Or house sat, I guess that would be
Yeah,
the better term. Not
sure.
baby. It was never like a babysitter, but more a house sat.
Yeah, yeah.
This is in Florida, he had an apartment, was able to get my mom into it, and she was able, and even, to this day, she lived there for till she passed.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And just being able to help manage, her life
Yeah, because hers is upside down at that point.
completely.
Yeah.
Because you're now in your 70s, let's say 60s, 70s, and you're about getting divorced. You know what I'm saying? At least, right?
Holy cow.
I know, right? And so you do the best you can, and at that point, it's like whatever she wanted, sure, I don't care.
Yeah.
Here you go, have it. I don't
Yeah.
like, it's like, and I get, and maybe that wasn't the best approach for me, but it's what, so whatever she wanted, here you go. You want me to send money to your sister? Fine. Who lived in the DR? Fine. Whatever. Didn't matter. Whatever you wanted, you had it.
Yeah.
Didn't care. Because because she worked so hard for so long, for over 30 years, 35 years,
Yeah.
with the same, government agency, right? And, at that point I was like, whatever you wanted.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I went through what I went through, whatever, but, for you, just have at it.
So, but okay, so I'm sorry.
It's okay.
At the time that they go through their thing and your dad is took everything
Right.
and basically we'll just say he dipped at that point.
Right.
You still don't know she's not your mom,
Correct.
but you're essentially we'll just call you for lack of a better term her guardian at that
At
point.
that point,
Yeah,
yeah,
we'll just call
basically.
that seems
Yeah.
like a good way to say
Yeah.
it. And so then you learn that she's not your biological
Well,
mother.
this would be years later. So what happened, so after that, after she got settled, I had an opportunity to move to Orlando
Uh-huh.
with the company that I was with, again, advancing in my career.
Yeah.
So I did that. Hated Orlando. Orlando,
Really?
oh god. I just, the it's like, oh, I mean, okay, aside from Disney World,
Yeah.
right? Aside from the
Everyone loves
happiest
Disney.
place on
Yeah,
earth,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
Orlando, just the out, like, and not, again, not to dog Orlando. Orlando is okay. Me personally, is not a city that I enjoy.
Yeah, it's not for you. That's
It
okay.
wasn't, right?
Yeah.
And I just was not happy, right? And so whatever. So the friends that I had lived with, her father, is a great mentor of mine. Like to this day, like if he ever needed me, I don't care, right? I'll be there. Like that's what my loyalty is, right? Especially when I've learned, because he was not obviously because I had a dad, but as in a more of a because he was Italian, right? Sicilian, and he was more as a an Americanized father figure
Sure.
for
Yeah.
me, right? Because you learn things, but then you learn different perspective, and so I attribute a lot of you know what I've learned now, from him. An
Hmm.
amazing, amazing man,
Yeah.
and even himself going through certain things, still an amazing man, right? Um, and so he and his daughter um decided to move to Woodstock, and I said, okay, I'll go, and so that's what I did.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it was at that time, this would have been in '07, late '07, around my birthday, decided, to move to Georgia, called up a former trainer who trained me, at the store in Orlando, and called them up and said, "Hey, do you have an opening?" And he's like, "Absolutely. We're about to." A lot of changes was happening, I guess, here in Georgia, and then that's when I moved. You know,
And
packed a U-Haul and moved. I wasn't married at the time, still single. Young, and moved up here with nothing, not knowing anything. And again, with yes, with the roommate and him because he had his own house. And what's funny, Craigslist was the thing,
yeah.
and found a place of my own, renting a room, and that's what led me to Woodstock, and here I am and haven't left, since
Yeah.
'07.
And you had mom set up.
Mom set up,
Yep.
still, monitoring and, taking care of her and doing whatever she needed. And mind you, she had, the siblings.
Yeah.
Cause and at this point I still didn't know, right? I
Right, right,
didn't,
right.
so whatever. And so, all that, advancing in my career, going through the snowpocalypse,
Yeah. We're in ice apocalypse right now.
right, yeah. Yay, dealing with that. I mean, so many things, meeting an amazing friend, um, which I guess we could discuss, but I don't know.
That's up to you.
We'll see. Yeah,
Yeah.
we'll see how that, but because again, it's just amazing things that happen to the people around me, which is always interesting for me. But yeah, and then going to the church, when I learned about the whole letting go of the burden, and it wasn't
Yeah.
necessarily just forgiveness, right? It was more of you don't have to carry the burden,
Mhm.
and that was a switch for me to say, you know what, I will most likely have other things that are going to happen in life. Why hold on to it? Just
Yeah.
let it go.
Hey, man. It's funny 'cause, this feels like a good place to ask you this too. In saying, like, letting go and not carrying the burden, um, you, at a certain point, decided that it was time to lose some things you were carrying around.
Yes.
So, how much total weight did you lose?
Oh God. So I will say it this would have been in 2018,
Yeah.
right after the divorce, and again, right, which is funny. Like I learned even with as heavy as I was, it didn't matter,
Yeah.
right? Because I got married, got divorced, had a girlfriend, let that go, right? And then something I forget what it was. Could have been no, no, actually, I take that back. So 2018, um, you learn all of a sudden, hey, you go to the doctor and you're gonna need to be put on insulin because apparently you are type 2 diabetic,
Mhm.
right? And it's something that I know my mother struggled with. I had an aunt, I believe, who also struggled with it. I'm not sure if she lost her leg. I can't remember the story, but I know that she passed away due to the complication, right? And so I think that was the turning point where,
Mhm.
when you become type 2 diabetic, you're like, holy shit, what are you doing? Right.
Mhm.
And then at the same time, I have this kid. Am I going to live long enough to walk her down the aisle?
Yeah.
Right. And again, whether she does get married or not, at the time, that was more my like, I need to be there,
Yeah.
right, for her. And so at that point, I was 450 pounds,
Holy cow.
or at least close to that.
Dude.
Yeah,
And I know we've talked about this
I
before,
know.
but, like, I don't remember you being that big, and then every once in a while, I'll see, like, an old picture
Right.
from back in the day, I'm like, "Holy smokes, it's
It
like a
was.
totally different person."
Yeah.
So walk me through that journey, like, what was that like, and, like,
Oh,
what were the steps like? And you're kinda given a little bit of, like, why you made the decision,
correct.
but yeah, walk me through that a
So
little bit.
the journey, and again, you get placed, people get placed in your life, right? And
Yeah.
so, this is, I think, when we were, what was it? Huey Louis, because
Yep.
we knew each other at that point. You were working at Huey Louis, and through the Halloween parties that were, at the neighbors, right?
Yep.
Met this, I guess, friend of the neighbor, who did personal training and things like that. And so, I hit her up and say, hey, man, uh, help me, because again, growing up, you know, y- you would cook, right? I would cook, my mom cooked, and you would just eat. You would just
Mhm.
eat, and again, you know, this all happened again. The ballooning of you know where I started gaining weight was at 10 years old after my surgery. Going to the Dominican Republic. Funny enough, because it was cheaper to go through it there. And then I think from one year to the next year, I was a completely like different kid, right? But again, that never affected my personality. I can't say that I was ever really bullied because I got big.
Yeah.
Um, you know, um, Now, did I get teased? Probably, but I can't say that I was bullied, right?
Yeah.
But again, I was always the kind kid. I look back, through the years, and did I cause probably trouble? Absolutely. I mean, what
What kid
kid doesn't,
doesn't?
right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, did I exemplify the Christian? No, because I always felt different, right? But either way, so whatever. So 2018 happened, and I said, okay, I want to lose weight. I want to get rid of, because I think I was like, my A1C at the time was like 11.9, let's say, and which is freaking ridiculous because I think 5 or 6, right, is pre-diabetic, and then I think once you hit the 7, you're
Okay.
right, and I'm at
Yeah,
11.
you're doubling
I'm
what's
like,
normal. Yeah,
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 yeah.
and at that point I could just kill over, you
No
know,
kidding.
yeah,
Okay.
you could lose legs, this, that, so many complications, but whatever. So that happened. And so I said, "You know what? Okay, let's try this." So the first year, I lost 80 pounds,
Mhm.
which is really awesome that I can do it, right? Learning how to cook differently
Yeah.
because I love food.
Yeah.
Let's face it. Because my mom was such a good cook, I learned how to cook, right? That I just had a love for food,
Yeah.
right? And didn't matter, right? You just didn't know.
Yeah.
You didn't know exercise wasn't a big thing. You just ate, and then that was it, right?
Yeah.
And so yeah, so that's where that started, that journey. So I did that, and then of course COVID came,
Yep.
and that just wiped everything out, right? And so whatever. So through a friend who talked to me about bariatric surgery,
Mhm.
and of course, and I'm sure I'll get flack. Oh, well, he did surgery. Well, guess what? You know how many people that I know who have done this surgery and they've gained it all?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So the way I look at this, it's a tool, right? You
Mhm.
are given a tool to help fight this I guess epidemic at this point, right? Because obesity is such a epidemic for
Yeah.
this country,
Yeah.
right? And so, I was but what before what led to that because I was doing the steps, then COVID hit, everything got shut down. Um, my doctor at the time, put me on a medication, um, which is funny, gave me the warning sign, said, "Oh, about 2%, of people can, possibly die or possibly this, whatever." Took it, things was progressing, using again a tool, right? It was a I forget what forget the name of the medication, but it was basically like a metformin, but a stronger dose
Okay.
of it, right? To kind of because COVID and couldn't go to the gym, but yeah, I would do home gyms here little by little, whatever. But then I started that process because someone had recommended, well, why don't you try the bariatric surgery? I said,
Yeah.
okay, cool. Let me see what it's about.
Yeah.
So that took almost a whole year, right? Of you know, having a psych evaluation, having to go through, exercise 101, basically, nutritional. So, I mean, things that had to take place so that way, that the success, right, that you can have a long term success, which
Yeah.
I am now embodying that, right?
Yeah.
Um, so so that all had to take place, but while I was on this medication, I was working and then all of a sudden I felt nauseous, like just nauseous one day, just out of the blue. So whatever, I had my breakfast, trying to see if that, maybe
Yeah. Just hungry, whatever.
yeah,
Yeah.
you know what
Yeah.
I'm saying? Whatever, went to work, still was feeling nauseous, and then whatever, I I couldn't function. So, I asked the manager at the time, "Hey, I don't know what's going on. I think I need to go home." So I went home, whatever, went to bed. Yeah, went to bed.
Yeah.
Most people go to the doctors. I should have went to the doctors, but I didn't. I went to bed. Once, because whatever. Woke up, was worse.
Really?
Yes, worse. You know, So whatever, the girlfriend at the time didn't drive, and so I was like, "Okay, well, I'll drive myself." Feeling like crap.
Yeah.
Okay. Drove myself to the hospital, whatever, sat there for, a couple hours. It wasn't too bad. And then all of a sudden, vomited. Just light, like just bad, like just bleh. But luckily I made it to the sink. I felt bad because it filled up because
Yeah.
whatever I ate, I guess, which we could explain later, just, filled up, whatever. Sorry to be graphic, but so just vomited, and then all of a sudden, because at the time when you're such a heavy person, I had a hernia.
Yeah.
Okay, and so that was the other thing. Not only was I going to go through the bariatric, but also they were going to repair the hernia.
Yeah.
Oh, well, all of a sudden that hernia grew, and it got hard,
Mm-hmm.
hard like a rock.
Yeah.
And so they pushed on it, and they're like, "This is not normal." And I said, "What do you mean?" It's like, "It's a hernia, right?" No, like your hernia is stuck, and it was, in essence, it was dying. And that's what basically, the medication that I was on caused ketoacidosis. So it's basically acid in the blood.
Yeah.
All right. So my entire system was shutting down.
Yeah.
I had no idea
Holy cow.
and it started with the hernia.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that was what stopped the food, and that's what was making me feel nauseous.
Yeah. That makes sense.
Right.
Okay.
And then that's when then I vomited. And I mean, and I was in the hospital for a week because of that. No one knew because I just drove myself.
Yeah.
I was like, whatever at the time.
So, okay.
Yeah, all right.
So, wow, man. So you're getting there, and correct me if I'm wrong, because I was trying to remember this, but in order to have the bariatric surgery, you have to like start the journey already, right? You have to get
Correct.
to a certain weight, right?
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
So
Whether good or bad, you had to show that you were making an effort.
and
And I was,
you
yes.
were making the effort, and then
Correct.
you hit this sort of you've taken this medication that they recommended for
Correct.
you, and you hit this sort of roadblock in the
Correct.
process. So this is prior to the surgery, prior to
Correct.
everything.
Correct.
So does this like derail anything? I mean, short of the week of obviously being in the hospital and feeling terrible, like,
Right.
well, how do they navigate around that?
Funny enough, it actually was a good reason in a sense, bad for me, but in a good reasons because I think not even maybe less than a month or so later, they're like, "We're gonna get you in."
Oh, okay. So it
Yeah.
kind of expedited the
It
process a little bit.
expedited
Yeah,
the
yeah, yeah, yeah.
process. Right.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're like, "We have an opening," because I think that happened in April. No, when did that not April, because my surgery was in March. This had happened, I think, either January or February. I could look back through my timeline.
Yeah.
And so that happened, and then all of a sudden by the end of March is when they did the surgery.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
So I mean, blessing and a curse, I guess.
Right.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
Right. Because at first the doctor had no idea the first time, and then they had to do blood work, blood tests, and that's why I was there for a whole week, and yeah. Yeah,
Wow.
ketoacidosis, a real
Wow.
thing.
Huh.
I know.
That's one of those weird things you like hear on the side effects may
Right.
include.
Only 2%
Yeah,
of
yeah, yeah.
people, and I'm like, "Oh, I get
Yeah.
to be one of them."
Yeah.
So now I am allergic to whatever the medication that they so I can't take that, obviously.
Hey, partial positive there too,
Right.
because then now you know.
Right.
You know what I mean?
That
'Cause
and I don't need it.
yeah, dude, and so it's interesting too to think about, like, again, I've known you through all stages of this, and again, it's hard for me to remember you as big as you were.
Right.
Um, but I can give a testament to the work that you've done since,
Yes.
the way that you eat now,
Yes.
the way you take care of your body, the way that you exercise. Do you wanna touch on a little bit of what has allowed you to be successful, stay successful, and continue on your journey? Because it's not you don't just stop, like, this
No.
is a forever
That's
lifestyle, right?
right, and that's the biggest thing, a lot of people don't realize that, no, just because I had the surgery, it doesn't just fall away. I mean,
Right.
yes, it helps, again, it's a tool, but I still have to do the work,
Yeah.
right? You still have to exercise
Yeah.
some kind of movement, doesn't matter what it is,
And you have to
right?
make better choices after the
That's it,
fact. Yeah.
absolutely, right? And so, once that happened, post-surgery, of course, that I mean, that took, because we were still coming off of the pandemic,
Yeah.
right? And for me, it was just like, okay, so I really can't go to the gym, right? Because obviously we still had the COVID effect, couldn't work, COVID effect, right? And so, just doing what I need to do, whether it was, simple workouts at home, taking small bites of certain foods. I mean, you remember my biggest thing is, what is it? The tomato basil soup
Yeah.
that I couldn't have that. And I
Yeah.
was like, fuck that. And then I was like, oh, once I was able to finally have it,
Yeah, yeah.
what a relief,
Yeah.
But and so yeah, so still doing what I need to do, right? Because again, it's just a tool. It's not the okay, you're cured,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
Because I still have to do the work to maintain where I'm at,
Yeah,
right?
and to your point, like, you you have to do it, and the success rate of the people that do it is still not super duper high.
Correct.
So, and you're aware of that at the time,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So, yeah.
And I attribute, right, because I know, like, even, people who I know who done the surgery, their vice was they couldn't stop drinking,
Oh, okay.
right? Luckily for me, I've done all my drinking in my youth,
Yeah.
right? I'm like, I'm good never to touch alcohol ever again,
Yeah.
right? And because that's the one thing, I attribute that luckily for me, like, I'd never had an addictive personality to be addicted to, but I had my fun, right?
Yeah.
And so, So that all, I only say that because again, you have to make the choices, right, to eat healthy, to exercise, right, to move, right, do the things you need to do in order to maintain, right? Because at this point, I'm maintenance,
Yeah.
right? So and then of course to answer, I was 450, so now I am 240.
Wow.
All right, so that's a whole
You
person,
lost a half a Christian.
right? Half.
That's crazy,
That's
man.
unbelievable.
That's so crazy.
You
And
know,
oh,
I know, and then like you say, when old photos pop up in my timeline, I'm like, holy shit.
yeah.
And I look at my daughter, and I'm like, holy shit.
Yeah. Yeah, because she's just growing and growing, and you're and
And
you
I'm
dude.
shrinking and shrinking.
Yeah, we have, you guys are the oh, what's the word I'm looking for here? They got the Christmas. You guys send like the for your fridge
Oh, the
for
Christmas
Christmas
cards.
photos, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And it's funny because we keep them,
Right.
and there's a there's a huge like
Yeah,
timeline there,
yeah,
man.
and then
It's
never stopped. I mean,
yeah,
I did it ever since she was what, 1 years old, maybe,
yeah,
and yeah, even as big as I was, yeah, and then you can see the progression, right? It's crazy because now it's been what, 5 years? At least, yeah, 5 years now. Because I think it was 2021, I
yeah.
think.
That sounds right. It's in the
Yeah,
2020 2021
yeah,
because I remember it was during lockdown. Like you were
right,
telling me all about the surgery,
right,
and then
yeah,
you had it shortly after that. So
right,
it's in that window for
right,
sure.
yeah,
Man, and like I said, it's just so interesting to think, like, how your brain works because I don't I don't remember you
right,
like, I if someone says to me, "Christian," I think of the guy that's sitting in front of me right now, and
right,
I don't like, my brain doesn't even go to that place,
right,
and it's just and then seeing it's almost, like, shocking,
right. It's
It's
like,
like,
"Oh my
"Holy
god,
cow, I forgot,"
yeah, you look like that?"
Yeah,
It's like, "Yeah."
and I knew you then again,
Right,
and it's just it's so far out of the normal now that
right,
it's just like, this is normal and
right,
that's extreme.
right,
Whereas, I suppose someone that maybe hasn't seen you in a long time or whatever, they would think the opposite.
correct.
Where it was like, "Oh, he lost so much weight."
Right,
Where it's like, "No, it's just Chris that's what Christian looks like now."
right,
You know what I mean?
exactly.
So
And it's funny because like, there's even moments where, you know, people who I've known who don't even like, I can walk up to them.
yeah,
And if let's say I haven't seen them in a month,
yeah.
right? And they know I went through all this. They're like, "Oh shit, I didn't realize that was you."
Yeah, yeah,
Like
yeah.
they're like, until they hear me talk, right?
Yeah,
Because I have a distinctive voice,
yeah,
and they're like, "Oh my god, I didn't."
yeah.
Even, it's like, you know,
Didn't you happen it happened to you recently
yeah,
too?
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, yeah,
it's so funny,
yeah. It's
man.
crazy. It's
And
crazy.
it's cool to watch. I'm super proud of you for doing it and sticking with it. I think it's harder than people think.
Oh, huge. Because again, my love of food hasn't gone away.
Oh, sure. You just control it.
That's it.
Yeah.
You take the steps, to say, okay, I love this. How much of this do I really need in my system?
Yeah.
Right. And then it's like relearning how to eat and what
Mhm.
proper eating is. Right.
Yeah.
And then it wasn't until, of course, and I'm going to give a shout out, Mind Pump,
Yeah, yeah.
right? Until I started listening to those guys, right? Who just, I attribute to them as well, focus on the protein,
Yep.
focus on, just getting to a healthier you,
And
right?
moving.
And moving.
That's it.
Like they're not here to say, you gotta lift 500 pounds. No, just fucking move.
Yeah. Just move.
Move and eat protein and focus on that,
Yeah.
and everything will come into place.
Whole foods, no
Oh,
processed
that's
foods,
it.
all that.
Right.
It's so funny, man, because you put me onto that show and, I was not in the same situation you were by any means. I just wanted to be healthier.
Right.
Um, and I had done a program, uh, is 75 hard,
Right. Yep. I remember.
and that was it's still to this day I will scream it from the rooftops is the best thing that I've ever done. Now, I will say that it was only good because it taught me I could and I could stick with things and really, go for it. And
Right.
if I had a goal, I could do it and I could create a new habit. And that habit really was longer than 75 days for the most part. You know,
Right.
I could maybe have like a sweet or whatever after the fact. But like for the most part, I stayed on that program for almost a year.
Right.
And then in talking to you, I was having like man, I can't stop losing weight and I don't want to lose weight.
Right.
Like I never wanted to lose weight in the first place. I
Right.
just wanted to be healthier.
Right.
And so I'm working out twice a day, you know, I'm eating a certain way and whatever. And you're like, hey, listen to these guys. And I was like, all right, cool. And so from there, I've been able to adjust the way that I do things as well.
Correct.
And you and I talk extensively about this stuff to the point where I think people around us are like, what? It's like Japanese, like they have no idea what we're talking about.
Right.
But I have been able to use that. I know that you are able to use that and go from and help other people and
That's
say,
it.
like, hey, I know that this seems difficult, but you could just do XYZ.
That's it.
And I'm not perfect.
Right.
You'll be the first to say you're not perfect.
Right.
But like I got this knowledge I can give you. You can it's up to you to use
That's
it or
it.
don't.
That's
you know?
it.
But yeah, shout out Mind Pump.
Yes.
Love that show.
Yes.
Lots of great stuff in there. Not even just about health and fitness, but
Correct.
just
Just keep it, and they keep it so simple.
yes.
That's the biggest thing. They don't try to fluff with it. They just say, look, eat healthy foods, move. You'll get to where you're going.
Yeah, and I
Right?
think the interesting thing I learned from them, and I think you and I kind of have collaborated on this thought a few times. So you think when you're younger and like coming up and everything, cardio means weight loss,
Right.
and really in reality, getting into not too much detail,
Right.
strength training and lifting and
Yes.
building as much muscle, and not muscle meaning like I got to be a bodybuilder, but
Right.
maintaining your muscle mass is one of the healthiest things you
That's
can
it.
do. And cardio sometimes is not,
No.
there needs to be a healthy blend, but like
Correct.
it's
Right.
not
Not the,
necessary.
it's not the be all, and that's the thing. When you look at like a lot of my friends who come to me and say, "Oh, what did you do?" and I tell them, "I walk.
Yeah.
I don't run.
Yeah.
Look, and I've told you this before. If something's chasing me, I'm gonna die. At this point, I am not running.
Yeah.
Because if they want me that bad, catch me.
Yeah.
Because I'm not running.
Yeah.
I will walk to where I need to be.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, the risk of injury is less.
Yeah.
Right? And all it takes is a little bit of movement.
Mm-hmm.
The running, you're gonna get tired of it. It only does so much, right? And then what are you gonna do? Cut more calories? No.
Yeah.
It's simple. Just eat whole food.
Yeah.
Focus on your protein, focus on your veggies, right? And then focus on your carbs.
Yep.
Simple as that.
It's very simple.
So simple. And I love how,
Yeah.
and that's it. And that's
Yeah.
what I try to tell people. Again, and I'm not an expert. I'm not here to, I just know what worked for me,
Mm-hmm.
and it's worked for other people. And that's all you have to focus on. It's not, but people, I feel like they want to make it so much more complicated.
Yeah.
But again, now I get it. If you're going to become, a bodybuilder, or if you're doing certain things that you want to get to, yeah, you're going to have to tweak and maybe do things a little differently.
Yeah.
Understandable. But for an everyday person, for simple living, you don't need to look like a big robust person.
Yeah.
Because when you look at the statistics, that's not what they're attracted to, right?
Yeah. And it's not necessarily healthy either.
It's not either.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, body dysmorphia is a huge mental thing
Mhm.
for a lot of people,
Mm-hmm.
right? Even myself, right? Now that I've lost the weight, and of course you have certain skin, right? So again, has it affected me? I would say a little bit, but
Mhm.
not a lot,
Yeah.
right? Because again, in the end, if you can't love what I look like, then I don't need to be with you.
Yeah.
Right. That's just the way I look at it. Like, love me for who I am or don't.
Yeah.
I mean, it hasn't stopped, right? It hasn't stopped my life. I still, get, those needs taken care of, right?
Yeah.
Of course. But again, it's like, you just gotta, take the good and the bad.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
What was interesting in learning about the way that you went about what you did, and then us diving into like the Mind Pump thing and everything. For me, it was I watched everyone around me And the older I'm getting, the more I feel like, oh, why does this hurt?
Mm.
You know, I sneeze funny and I can't move for 4 days.
Right.
You know, those kind of things. And when I started to listen to those guys and like understand it's the movements that matter,
Right.
you know, that you're going to want to use later that people lose over time, like
Correct.
lifting things over your head,
Correct.
squatting down, all these different things. And for me, it's about longevity and mobility.
That's it.
And if, you know, I like to play golf, I got to put my arms over my head. I
Yep.
got to rotate my body. I want to be able to do that until I'm like 150. And I'm
Perfect.
assuming I'm going to live longer than that with the way things are advancing.
That would be nice,
Yeah,
wouldn't it?
right.
Right?
So I want to take care of what I got,
Right.
and I want to make sure that I'm able to do the things I enjoy doing and not have to be in pain all the time. And some people my age, a little older than me, friends that I have a little older and even a little younger,
Yeah.
you know, we all were not super kind to our bodies,
No.
you know, especially my past life of traveling all the time and sleeping in weird places and jumping off of things I had no business jumping off of. And, you know, I tore my ACL when I was younger and never fixed it. And like all these different things, they catch up. They
Mhm.
just catch up.
Absolutely.
And I would much rather take care of the machine I got here than to buy a new one
That's it.
later. And
That's it.
that's just kind of the way I look at it. But so I appreciate the fact that you kind of put me onto that and
You're welcome.
taught me that. I really do try to put it in. And like you always say, it's not about perfection. It's
No.
just about consistency.
That's it.
So yeah, it's super cool to see, man. And again, it's awesome to see you continuing to be successful in your journey as well. So I mean, man, we've gotten through a lot and a lot of big stuff. You know, you've been through a lot of things. So we're to the point where you lost a bunch of weight. You're feeling pretty good. You're feeling healthy, right?
Yep.
And now in the next 1,000 lives of Christian, we have started your own business. Is that right?
That's right.
So talk about that a little bit. Let's hear about it.
Oh, so again, I know I touched on it just a little bit. You know, fulfilling a need, right? And that's, you know, and I look at through all aspects of my life, you know, and then of course there's little things that of course come to mind, like how some people say, "Oh my God, you would make a great therapist." I was
Yeah.
like, I get that, but they don't make nothing.
Yeah.
And I don't know if I would, honestly, like, it's not a passion because people share things to me. Like, okay, I remember because, I talk and sales, right? So this is when I was working when Sears was a thing.
Yeah.
And I had this one guy literally, and he said to me, I mean, he would just tell me the things that I'm like, the things that people would say to me. And I'm just like, why are you telling me this?
Right.
You know nothing about me. And you are, and he's, and I, to this day, he's like, I don't know why I want to share, but you just have an aura that I just want to share my life.
Man, I've heard that before. That's yeah. Okay.
And it's crazy.
Yes.
And it's like all we whether it's we listen or because we again maybe we don't sit there and judge,
Mhm.
right? We listen with compassion. I don't know, right? I feel like with everything that I've learned, that maybe there's just it's almost like a spiritual gift, right?
Yeah.
There's a gift, whether you want to tie religion or not, that just a heart to just to be a listening ear because it's like a lot of what I've learned is and the biggest thing is I feel like everyone should definitely have their own therapist.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because so many issues could be resolved if people would just communicate,
Yeah.
right? Because you and I have touched on this. Just freaking communicate,
Yeah.
right? Because there was, again, we had a certain situation that there was a lie, right? But then we communicated.
Yeah.
And then we found out that that lie was a lie,
Yeah.
right? And then boom, here we are,
Yeah.
right? Because that's all it takes.
Yeah. It's not that hard.
Right? Because it could have turned into something ugly,
Yeah.
but it didn't
Yeah.
because we talked.
Yeah. It's pretty simple.
Very simple, right? And I think because, whether people feel shame or the fear, who knows? Who knows what it is?
Yeah.
It's like, find a therapist, right? And I feel like maybe I'm the world's therapist. I don't know. I don't know. The people around me, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Or and you yourself, where people just want to share their life story. And again, this is why this podcast, right, came to play, because people just want to share,
Yep.
which is a great thing.
I think so.
No, I know so.
Yeah.
And what I know of you and about you, that this will be successful because of the fact that, you have gone through so much in your life that to you it's like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
As long as you come as you are. Don't listen.
Yeah.
We can sense the bullshit.
Yeah, seriously.
Right? We can
Yeah.
sense the bullshit.
Yep.
And and we've had many talks about certain people, and we're like, yeah, right? We know,
Yep.
right? And we just don't bother with that.
Yeah. Yeah,
Right.
it's nice to be able to bounce those things off of someone else that gets it,
Right.
because I don't know, man. I think I don't ever approach a situation in any conversation, or I try not to, of a place of malice or a place of judgment. It's more so like I have this feeling and I have to say it and I have to communicate it.
Yeah.
And so gives me this feeling and
Mhm.
I don't know if I like it or not. And a lot of times that's misconstrued as like bad mouthing or talking poorly about
No.
somebody, but it's just really more like a
Here's a situation,
yeah.
and I just need to see, because again, you're trying to process what's happening,
Mhm.
right? And all you're doing is getting a different perspective,
Yeah.
right? Because look, I have friends who like, I'll just, an example is, whether they're like, "Oh, my significant other is cheating." Okay, well, why do you feel that?
Yeah.
What are they doing that's making you feel this way,
Yeah.
right? And it's about what you're feeling. Is it true? Is it not true? Right? You're not trying to badmouth them, but you're just having a conversation about what's internally bothering you,
Yeah.
right? So again, that's all it is.
Yeah, I think it's about how you frame it.
Right.
And that's the issue. I think most people that get themselves into like issues with others and arguments and whatever is because of the frame.
Right.
Because I think that's what quote unquote shit talk really ends up being, is
Right.
just I had this feeling or this thing happened and this is how I feel about it.
Right.
And there's a way to, and I'm not good at it all the time. I'm be the first to
Oh,
admit it.
none of us. Again, we're
Yeah.
not perfect.
I just I think that that's where that comes from is but I've learned over time to just frame it differently,
That's it.
because there's no need to, because you could be wrong as well.
Absolutely.
It's totally okay,
Right.
but you just got to frame it as more of a learning and an understanding as opposed to a judgment and like a bad mouthing or
Right.
whatever. I think there's far more judging that goes on
Yes.
than there is framing and figuring it out and
Right.
asking the questions and, to your point, communicating.
Communicate and listening,
Yeah.
right? You gotta listen. Look, because if you come at someone defensive,
Yeah.
right? What do you think is gonna happen?
Yeah.
There's gonna be friction,
Mhm.
right? It's like, okay, like again, when we had our one time moment, had I started like going back at you when you were explaining to me the situation, and I'm over here listening and just listening to you vent and say, well, whatever, whatever. And I'm like, okay, I hear you. No, right?
Yeah.
This is what happened,
Yeah.
right? And explaining it in a way calmly, right? Because obviously, if we went back, then no, what are you going to resolve?
Nothing.
Nothing,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
right?
And I know that was a long time ago.
Right.
I was not as good now or as I am now so
Correct.
I approached it horribly.
But again,
But
had I not known how to be able to communicate, because again, if the things that didn't happen in my life
yeah.
did not happen,
Yep.
you and I would have had a very different outcome,
Yeah.
right?
And for what? So
Over someone else's lie.
yeah, it's crazy.
It's crazy,
Crazy.
right? And it's crazy when you look at things happen for a reason. I've always been, and again, and what you keep in the dark will come to the light,
Yep.
whether in this life or the next, right? But these things happen for a reason, so that way, one, you could learn who you are because
Yeah.
you're learning who you are every day. I'm still learning who I
Yeah.
am every day,
Uh-huh.
right? And but anyways, but onto the the business, right?
Yes.
So I saw a need in the community, because the beauty of Facebook, right? You have community pages and people are always complaining and this and that. And it's like, man, why don't we start something?
Yeah.
Right. And so, of course, I came with, I did have a partner. And again, I'm never going to badmouth anybody. Still, again, I'm going to be a villain in someone's story.
Yeah.
Right. But again, just things didn't line up and that's okay. Right. That's the biggest thing I learned is that things aren't always going to line up, whether it be my fault, their fault, doesn't matter. When you're not willing to communicate and move past whatever the situation,
Mhm.
it's fine,
Yeah.
right? You're going to just have to let it be, and that's okay. Right? It still hasn't stopped me from doing what I'm doing
Yeah.
and still fulfilling a need, right? Because what's the biggest thing, you always say to me, there's Christian, 5-star rated,
That's right. Yeah,
right?
yeah, yeah.
Which
Yeah.
is which is what led to what I'm doing, right? Because that's all I've gotten, right? 5 stars,
Yeah.
right? Because I'm not going to put myself or not deliver what I know that can be the impossible. Because I've seen it all the time. So many people promise, promise, promise. I'm not going to promise that. What I can promise you through the service that I provide, right, is it's going to be right the first time. And if I mess up, I'm going to fix it.
Yeah.
I'll do what I need to do to make sure that it's done right.
Mhm.
That's it.
Simple.
Simple, right? Provide the service, fulfill the need for the community, and then move on.
Yeah. I mean, dude, and so far so good,
So
right?
far, yeah. So, I mean, now have there been moments where it's like, oh my God, right? But
Yeah.
we're learning, right? I'm
Yeah.
still learning because, again, it's still a learning process. And
Yeah.
I've been doing this now, what, 3 years, I think?
Yeah.
2.5, whatever. It's still a learning because, you have certain people like I think there was a moment where I got a call to take and again, and it's funny how I should have known, but then it's like I didn't listen to that intuition,
Yeah.
right? Where you get a call and this guy was so eager, so eager. It's like, I need a dumpster. By the way, I do dumpster rental.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So go ahead and Cha-Cha's dumpster rental, which you provided the logo, which I am foreverly grateful. So it again, it comes with its heartaches, right? You will get people who try to commit fraud, right? Who will say, "Oh, I need a dumpster," and then this is what I've learned is they'll call you from burner phone or whatever, and then have me deliver it to the customer's house who doesn't speak the language,
Oh.
but then I speak that language.
Yeah. Uh-oh.
Uh oh. And so when I asked them, I said, "So how are you gonna?" And again, because it's the Hispanic community,
Yeah.
right? And they're the ones especially when they come to this country not knowing that they are well, as long as they come legally, but that they are protected,
Yeah.
right? And so, but a lot of them don't know because they come in a culture of they take the words of others so seriously that that is your word, right? And that's something even myself,
Yeah.
right? Your word is your word,
Yeah.
right? And so, when they, I guess, in essence, think that they're hiring someone, right? But then when the guy tells me, so do I, so I just Zell them, and I was like, them who? Again, that was the red flag,
Yeah.
right? It's like, who are you zelling? I'm like, no, I'm the direct, right? And so again, it happens, right? And so again, it's got its ups and downs, but overall, being able to fulfill the need and helping, just people who, I mean, it's just simple, right? It's so simple. Look, I provide you the dumpster, get rid of your unwanted items, I take it away.
Yeah.
And do I sometimes get people, because I'll do it for 3 days. Do I give them an extra day? Yes. Do I charge them for it? No. Why? It's not going to cost me any different,
And
right?
things happen.
And things happen,
Yeah.
right? And then also, I'm sure we disrupted the community because I've noticed that they were doing 2 days. I was like, let's offer three
Mm-hmm.
because 2 days to because when you realize, and then again, even myself, when you realize that you have so much stuff, that's a lot to try to get rid of in 48 hours.
Yeah.
So I'm like, let's just add another day. And quickly I realized in the community that it started changing. A
Yeah.
lot of them now offer,
Became the standard.
it became the standard.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because it's like, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. That's, just give it to them. Like, why, And so that was, that's what started that. Just and it started with one and then turned to have more and now, I'm steadily growing year after year, which has been great. Obviously right now, it's winter and I
Yeah.
get it. We have an ice storm,
Yep.
I just got it. Thank God I got it back. It's, but it's just one of those things that, I fulfill the need for a community, because there's so many scammers.
Yeah, and I think, and we've talked about this at length when it comes to business, I think it's always best to try to solve a problem.
That's
It's
it.
always best to try to solve a
That's
problem.
it.
You can sell a product,
Right.
that product better solve a problem.
Right.
If you sell a service, that service better solve a problem.
Right.
And sure, there are certain products and certain things that do not solve a problem, and they'll still sell and they'll still
Right.
make money, but they won't have longevity.
Correct.
And I've always thought of it like that. That if you can solve a problem and solve it well, and then repeat being able to solve that problem for others over and over and over,
That's it.
you'll succeed.
That's it.
And in you seeing the need, here's the problem. There's a million of these businesses in the area, but
Right.
they're scamming people.
Oh my God.
They're inconsistent.
Right.
So I do what they do and do it better.
That's it.
Solve the problem.
Solve the problem. And
5-star rated.
that's it. And then you and then you give them, and again, you just give them a sense that it is okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Because I remember, you know, this one person embarrassed, right? And I'm like, look, you, I, you know, eh, I get it, right? Again, you don't judge them, and they already feel bad, right? Because it's hard, right? And I learned this. Someone had told me it was funny, and this was back when I was married. They came to the house, and the one thing that stuck to me, it's like, you know, you can sell vacuums, right? But you can never sell a vacuum to someone who does not see the need, right? And their house could be a filth.
Yeah,
And if they don't see the need, you're not gonna sell them.
sure.
You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
it was like an eye opener. It's like, you're right. If they don't see the problem, good luck. I mean, and I see it all the time, right? That, oh, I can go longer when you see tires, right? For an example, right? You see people with bald tires, slick, 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 right? Slicker, right? And they're like, oh yeah, I got another, whatever, and then it rains, and then they get into an accident,
Yeah.
and it's like, come on, dude. But
Yeah.
whatever, you can't sell it if they don't see the need, right? And so going back to, they were embarrassed. And I said, look, I get it. It's okay. We all have things that embarrass us, right? But that's why you called us to help with that burden.
Yeah.
And the sense of
Mm-hmm.
that they felt that it is okay, that I'm not here to judge the stuff. It's just junk.
Yeah. You're throwing it away.
Right.
Yeah.
You're doing something about it.
Yeah.
Let's focus on that, right?
Mhm.
And I think that's what, helps give me that sense of purpose for these people, that they, that I'm, I communicate with them, I let them know, and I deliver. I tell them, look, this is when I can do it, because I still have a full-time job,
Mhm.
right? But I do this part-time. And the fact that I'm making what I'm making part-time, can I imagine what could happen once I do it full time, which is
Sure.
we're getting there,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And so and that's it, and just do it with a smile. You there are certain things you cannot fake, and a smile is not one of
Yeah,
them.
it's true. That's very true. Not yeah. I mean, I've probably faked a smile in, like, a picture once or twice, but you
Again,
can
you
tell.
can tell,
Yeah.
right? You can tell, okay, that's not right, because you have a sense of, we know who you are,
Yeah.
and we can tell when you're just, like, really forcing it, you know what I mean?
Yes.
Just to hold it in.
Yeah.
It's like,
Uh-huh.
but and that's it, and it's led to other, because I also have a cleaning business that I'm not really more I mean, I am focused, but not as heavily, right? I do have a here and there, and again, using that as also the junk removal side. So trying to navigate those things, but all in all, it's just providing the need for the community and seeing what else can be done, and that's it.
Yeah, it's super cool, man. I think it's especially again much much like the rest of your story. Your journey at the beginning of business was not great,
Right.
and it wasn't all in your control, and it wasn't all your fault, and it wasn't all their fault.
Just what it
It
is.
wasn't working.
Right.
And at that point, much like a lot of other things in your life, you could have said, "Yeah, I don't want to deal with this." And you went through it stronger and better.
And that's it.
And that's awesome.
That's it.
To watch you succeed at it is super cool. Um, and to watch it continue to grow is super cool too.
Yes.
And with that said, I love this part. So this is something that I kind of started doing recently. Um, I love this part because it leaves the door open for someone I sit down with and do what we've done today to do it again. So I want to ask you. So as of this point, Christian, is it fair to say that we flipped through your book?
Yeah.
Okay. We've gotten to the now of things.
Yeah. I'd say a lot. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
absolutely. I mean, there's
So
I mean, again, can we continue to talk about endless things? Absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely. There's so many, right? There's so many things.
Story after story.
I mean, even like, again, dealing with just life in general is hard, right? And I
Mhm.
get it. I get it. Right. But, when you focus on yourself and just try to, look, are you going to always be happy 100% of the time? No. But can you try to achieve it every day? Absolutely.
Yeah.
Try
Even
to,
if it's for a little bit.
yeah,
Yeah.
something,
Find
because
something.
to be miserable, because I see so many people miserable, miserable, miserable. It's like, why? Like, I get it. Things happen. I understand. But it's not your burden to carry. And
Not forever. Yeah.
no, exactly. Right? To be bitter, it's like you're holding on to something. It's like, why?
Yeah.
This jealousy, why? You know? And it's like, just let it go. Let it go. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Because there's so much more if you can just look at the good. Like, I get it. Right now we're facing, so many things, right? What's this whole ICE situation? And I get
Mhm.
it. Look, I get it. Right? Are these people, these are a lot of my people. Completely understandable. Right? Am I fortunate enough to be born in this country? Yes.
Yeah.
Right? But I get it. There are, I mean, and again, not even, have I faced racism? Oh, absolutely. Again, I didn't even get a house when I was looking for a home because of my last name.
Really?
Yeah. Right?
Interesting.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right? Just because of my last name, they saw my last name on a paper. They're like, oh, we're not selling to that. Right.
Wow.
Right.
Huh.
The racism is real.
Yeah.
Right. I mean, I get it, but it's like sometimes either you hold on to that and just, oh, the injustice. Okay, I get it. Just, no, let it go. Move on, because again, I got a different house, a better house that had 3 acres. Because why? Because the listing agent screwed up and put it as a 0.30 versus a 3.0, and nobody was looking at it.
Oh.
So if it wasn't for the fact that I lost the bid because of my last name, but then I got this house for a great deal.
Yeah.
And I get right, because again, like as I was saying, even with the ice situation, right? It's like in that moment, these people are your judge, jury, and executioner. Don't let them only be the executioner.
Yeah.
I get it. That's why we have a court system, right?
Yeah.
And okay, the court system's not perfect. Fine. But take like what are you going to solve in that moment?
Yeah. I think everyone's allowed to feel however they want.
Correct.
I think that, um, you know, the truth is for me is that I think that the division's on purpose.
Oh, absolutely.
And so I can't stand that part of it, that no matter where you look, how if you look hard enough, you'll find what you wanna find,
Right.
or you'll find what you ask for
Right.
on either side of the
That's
coin,
it.
and oh, shit, at this point, it feels like there's 900 sides of the coin. But,
Exactly.
there are some people that believe it's very cut and dry. Like,
Right.
it's this because of this,
Right.
and that's it. But for others, it doesn't feel like that,
Right.
and that's okay too.
Right.
I think to make it your identity is a little bit much. I think I get, and it's hard for me because, you know, at this particular point, I'm a straight white male.
Right.
So I'm very much like, "Oh, well, you don't count," and
No,
whatever, man, like, that's
again,
fine.
but your feelings are valid, right?
Yeah, but, like, I don't
But
I
you might not understand it. I get
yeah,
that. And
yeah,
I
yeah,
get
yeah.
that. And this is why I say, look, if you're here in this country illegally, right? There are steps that you have to take
Sure.
to become legal.
Yeah.
And I get it. Look, my mom, okay, she was a clerk for, Homeland Security,
Mhm.
right? And that's what she processed. People who would file, right? And she did that for 35 years.
Wow.
Okay. And I get it. It's expensive. I think it's upwards to the 10,000, I think was the last time. And again, this was many years ago.
Yeah.
But it's like, I understand there's a process. And it's just like any other country. If you decided to go to anywhere else, everything has a process.
Sure. Yeah.
Just do the process.
Yeah. I think that's where it's tough for me too, because in my head, and this might sound dumb or whatever, and it is what it is. I'm like you said, I'm allowed to feel however I want to feel.
Right.
I just think that if, and this might be a bad example, but like if I break the law, there's
Mhm.
consequences for breaking the law,
100%.
and regardless of how. If the law is the law, you don't
Right.
have to like it. You
Right.
don't have to agree with it.
Right.
Hell, I don't agree with a lot of them either.
Right.
But it's still the law.
Correct.
And so if I don't want the consequences that come with breaking the law, then I probably shouldn't break the law.
Correct.
And if I don't like the law, then I probably should go somewhere where that's not the law. And to me, I know it's not that simple,
Right.
but I guess that's just my logic
Right.
behind it. Is
But it
just
makes
like, okay.
but that makes sense, right?
Yeah.
I mean, or just do the steps so that way you're not living an unlawful life.
That's what I'm saying. And now, do I think that anybody deserves to be shot over
No,
it?
correct.
No.
No, absolutely not.
I don't think that anybody deserves to deal with a lot of stuff that they deal with. But I also think that people,
Put themselves in situations
man.
look, the way your behavior is going to determine the outcome,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So if you're hooping and hollering and your tempers are flaring, it's not a good mix.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I think also, and this might sound insensitive or whatever, it's fine. I just think people need to mind their business.
That's it.
And like
Simple as that. I mind my
I
business all the time.
you can feel strongly about something, and if you feel that compelled to say it, cool. I think a lot of people just like
They exacerbate the situation when it shouldn't be that way.
yeah, and I think unfortunately a lot of folks feel included in certain groups,
Right.
and some of those people were never included in anything
Right.
or felt not included in certain groups or in certain aspects, and they finally feel like they found like a home,
Mhm.
and now it's their entire identity,
Right.
and like that's all they care about, all they talk about, and it's just kind of like, well, okay, I guess like that. I get it, but also like you could just mind your business,
Right.
and then your life will be just fine.
Right.
And I know that sounds selfish because like I- people are affected by this, and I
Absolutely.
get that, but also like if you live your life to your fullest
Mhm.
and you lead by example,
Right.
then chances are the people around you will eventually be affected by the example in which that you set that will change the trajectory of the others around you
That's it.
and then ultimately changes everything.
That's it.
I don't know.
No, I
To me
agree.
it seems so simple,
I
but
agree.
that's why I'm just me and I stay out of it, man.
That's it.
And people get on me for staying out of it. And I'm like,
Well, it's a lose-lose because look, I I'm a man of color,
yeah.
and do I feel, you know, again, are they targeting my people? Yes, but I'm not here, you know, causing a riot or a scene, right? Because there's no point.
Yeah.
Like, the law is the law,
Yeah.
okay? Something has to give.
Yeah.
Just do what you need to do. Simple as that.
Yeah, and I understand too. In my opinion, if we're gonna go that route, which I think is valid, also make it easier for people
Right.
because the
Correct.
process
Oh,
sucks.
absolutely.
So like I
And it's
get
expensive.
yeah, I get all that too. I get all that.
Yeah.
But I don't know, man. That could be a whole different
Yeah.
episode.
Yeah. Which
And
we can do later.
yeah, I don't it breaks my heart sometimes to like watch people that I love and care about feel so strongly because like uh, I have my own beliefs, man. I
Right.
do, but I also feel like because I am who I am,
Mhm.
I'm not allowed to even have a belief because like I am oftentimes marked as the enemy in the process. Okay, fine. But and also I don't vote. So like everybody gets on me for well you didn't vote, so like your opinion's invalid. Okay, cool. So like that's fine. I'm good with that. But then like also I don't have to listen to you.
Right.
So like I don't care. I don't care what color you are. I
Right.
don't care what you believe. I don't care where you come from. I don't care. I don't. None of it matters to me. What matters to me is how you treat people,
Right.
how you treat me, and as long as you're not harming yourself or others, and if you are harming yourself, just don't put anyone else in harm's way.
Correct.
And I don't give a shit. Do
Right.
whatever you want.
Right.
I don't care.
That's it.
Just don't pull me into it
Right. Just
because
let me live.
and then if you do pull me into it, don't be shocked if my reaction is bad.
Right. Again, sometimes you gotta be the villain
Yeah.
in someone else's story.
Yeah, man, I'm starting to get real comfortable with it too. Because I like my life.
That's it.
And
And
I'm not
love my peace.
yeah, and I'm not gonna feel guilty or bad for having it because just as someone else didn't have the choice to be born a certain way or a certain gender or a certain color or a certain place, I didn't either.
Right.
So like don't crucify me because I didn't pick this just like you didn't pick it.
Right.
So I don't want to hear it.
Right.
And that anyway. Yeah, anyway.
Anyways.
So
All right.
what I was getting to, we
Yes.
went through your book.
Yes.
We read your chapters. This is my favorite part. What in the book of Christian, we're on the last page here. Now we're at the blank pages. You got the pen. What's next?
Oh God. Obviously, the at least for me, this is my hope, right? Because obviously I want to continue to grow my business, right? And continue to see what other areas that I can assist the community with.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and but obviously, you know, what chapter for my
Yeah,
child, right? I want to see, you know, how that comes out and you know what she will face and what she will go through, you know, and just being able to sit back and watch, you know, and hopefully guide her in life, right? Because obviously I've lived my life,
yeah.
and again I still have many years to live,
Oh, yeah.
but you know, again, I might not be here tomorrow, who knows, right?
Yeah.
but but the biggest thing is, uh, being able to, you know, maybe settle down, with someone. I don't know.
Never
If
know.
again, if that happens, single, by the way. Um, you know, you know, am I I just want to see, what will happen with her, whether she decides, to whether get married or have kids or, just to be there, go to school, call like what career, you know what I mean? And I think because everything else that has happened, it's already done,
Yeah.
right? And there's no going back to it. But, being able to, you know, see her and see a lot of me in her,
Yep.
right? Except she is 10 times smarter. Okay. I'm going to tell you straight up. Like, I mean, she is so equipped at this point. And I think, you know, um, her watching again, me and her mom co parent, right? And again, me being able to mess with her sister,
Mhm.
right? Where the sister feels so comfortable to like scare me every
Yep.
morning,
Yep.
right? When I have her. And just, you know, having and seeing how that will play out for her life,
Yeah.
right? Because I feel like she'll have the same sense and guidance, because that's the story that I hear that, oh my gosh, she's so grown. Like she's, again, I posted the other day, sorry to use this, where you have a lot of kids, and I know it's mainly the boys, right? While the kids are over here about 6, 7, my kid's worried about, whether the elf on the shelf is gonna, tell Santa
Yeah.
all the things that are happening,
Yeah.
right? So again, I know she has her innocence, but again, at the same time, I'm like, are you playing with me right now? Because I feel like you are, but I haven't, we haven't gotten there yet, so
Yeah.
we'll see what next year brings
Yeah.
with this whole thing. But, just being able to, like I said, watch her grow and what kind of human, in a world that it just feels like, you know, the yes, the world seems to be getting, I guess, the divide like we talked about,
Yeah.
right? But hopefully that she can be the light to those around her.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
I feel like a lot of times, I try to be a light, to a lot of people around me.
Yeah.
Uh,
I think you nail that.
yeah.
Yeah, I do. And I think she does too. And it'll only get brighter as
That's
she
it.
goes. Dude, you know what I had thought when you were talking about if she were to get married and have her own kids, like Grandpa Christian would be
Oh god.
pretty dope.
Oh my
Like
god, right?
that would be
Oh.
pretty cool, man.